Hello everybody, it is back to blindfolded chess for this video. I am waiting to get a casual game. Let's make it a 3-minute game to start off. And for some reason I've forgotten to make the game blindfolded. Okay, well, I guess if you ever wanted to go on this chess site and make your games blindfolded, this is an excellent time to for an instructional video, I guess. Alright, so go to your profile, press on Preferences, scroll down all the way to the bottom, and at the end, Blindfold Chess, Invisible Pieces. Yes, I do want that. And then you can go to Play, Create Game, and let's just make it, I don't know, 3 plus 2 should be very quick in getting a pairing. There we go. So we're white in this game. I'll try d4. I'm not sure if I've done that in the blindfolded match yet. d4, d5, c4, queen's pawn opening, e6. If you want to skip ahead to the actual analysis of this game, feel free, by the way. Alright, knight f6, bishop g5, mainline theory at this point. Bishop e7 is the move. C takes, e takes is now the main line. Knight takes. Oh, okay, they're trading off lots of pieces. That is fine with me. Queen takes. Takes, e takes, e3. Okay, so I've got a bishop on f1 and a knight on a g1. Let's get knight f3 to improve pieces. Castles, yeah, good move. Bishop d3. I'm just trying to castle kingside. Knight f6. Okay, fine. Castles. Bishop g4. Yeah, hitting my bishop. Rook c1 is a good move, but I like h3, putting the question to them in this position. Bishop h5 is obviously the correct move, which has been played. Queen c2 is interesting, but I'm going to play more cautiously. I'll play rook c1. Yeah, c6, and maybe I can get a small minority attack going with a3, b4, and go b5 in the future. a5 might be a move to put cold water on my meal. Knight to e4. Okay, so if I take it, d takes e4, and I'm not very happy with the situation. Alright, b4. Gain some initiative on the queen side. Again, bishop e2 is like the safety move here, which I may do in the next couple of turns. Queen f6. Yeah, they're now definitely causing me some trouble, so I'll do this move, bishop e2. So I should have pawns on all the dark squares, essentially. a3, b4, d4, e3, f2, and then g2, h3. Black should have pawns on e6, f7, g7, h7, c6, b7, a7. Hope that's right. And I'm planning knight to e5. It's not some incredibly interesting position, but at least it does something. Knight e5 threatens knight d7, forking queen and the rest of their pieces. Do I not win a piece? No, I don't. I don't win a piece, but I'll do it anyway. Knight takes. Bishop takes e2 is essentially forced. Now, knight takes h7 is an interesting move. Knight h7, bishop takes queen, knight takes... Yeah, I think I win a pawn. Let's go for it. If they do bishop takes queen, knight takes queen, check is the important point. Pawn takes knight, rook takes bishop, and I won the h7 pawn. If the queen moves anywhere, I take their bishop on e2, and then they take my knight, and I still win a pawn. If they do something weird like queen takes f2 check, I actually win the piece because... Oh, actually, no, I don't. Okay. Queen takes f2 check might actually be good. Rook takes f2, bishop takes queen. Yeah, okay, they've done it. Although, actually, no, it doesn't work, because rook takes queen. They have to take my queen, then I get their rook on f8. It's good news for me. And I have d7 to run away if they run away with their bishop. My knight is not trapped. My rooks are both on dark squares, with their bishop being a light squared bishop. They have no way to gain tempo on me, and they resigned. Alright, so for everyone who was not following along, what may have sounded like a total jumble of words that I've been saying. Sounds like that to me as well, don't worry. Let's analyze the game. While I'm actually analyzing, I will request computer analysis to back up everything I say or to disagree with me, whichever way the computer likes. So the mainline opening of the Queen's Gambit declined, or Queen's Gambit exchange variation was played. Actually, a lot of players do Bishop e7 before Knight f6 in order to make Bishop g5 not playable on my fourth move. So I have to play Knight f3 instead, and then there are a few independent options for black. However, that's not a big deal. Yeah, we're just in basically an opening. It's not that interesting. Positions, more or less equal, which is ideal for me playing blindfolded. I want a position without any trouble. Now, interestingly enough, Queen to b4 check at first looks quite good for black, but actually, I think after Queen d2 and trade of queens, even though my king is not yet castled, I don't think this is a bad thing for white, because as the queens have come off, it's extremely likely that I will be surviving the game until the end. So my king can actually help in the middle game and ending play. An active king can be useful. So I prefer white in this position, to be honest. Anyway, knight d7, knight f3 castles, bishop d3, knight f6. So black took 2 moves to get their knight to f6, which may give white a very small edge. But as it's a very static position without any major tactics, I don't think this is a critical mistake from black, moving their knight to f6 via b8. Yeah, castles, bishop g4, and it's equal more or less. And h3, to be honest, is probably a small error, but I wanted to see what black would do. If bishop back to e6 or d7, then I'm very happy with my setup. If bishop takes knight, I'm also happy with the way things have gone. Bishop h5 was essentially the only move causing me any difficulties. And I had looked at queen c2, aiming at h7, but the problem is their knight is protecting it. Bishop e2 may be correct, but I couldn't resist improving the rook. Yeah, and c6. So here, you get an interesting position where, even though black has 4 pawns on the queen side, I only have 3. So it looks like black is a lot stronger on the queen side, structurally. This leads to what is called a minority attack. And for anyone who wants to watch a full video on this, I believe it was Yasser Sarawan who gave a great lecture on the St. Louis Chess Academy YouTube channel, where he talks in depth about minority attacks. The essential aim of this is that I want to fix the c6 pawn as a weakness. So my idea is to try and get the move b5 in, where if black takes me, I can take back, and they'll have a weak d5 pawn, which could be targeted throughout the match. And if they don't take me, I will capture them. They will capture back, and then that will stop them having a weak d5 pawn, but then they'll have a backward c6 pawn, which is weak, that I can also pressure. And it wasn't until, I think it was like the 1930s, that this was kind of appreciated as being fine for white. There used to be players who thought that black actually had the advantage in these types of positions because of the queenside majority of pawns. That's why I played a3 to go b4. Also, it put another pawn on a dark square, and we have light squared bishops. That way it makes my bishop better, their bishop worse. Then b4, queen f6. Now, b5 is a move in this position, but I was a bit worried about bishop takes f3, or even knight g5, and problems occurring. So bishop e2 was a very safe move, and the computer line is queen e7, playing it safe. I probably would have done knight e5 in this position to trade off more pieces, but queen c2 makes sense. And the computer is essentially giving white the minority attack option. b5 is the more kind of aggressive move, but I guess I can't play it yet because black's knight on d6 prevents this. It suggests a5, which to me is a very inhuman move. You want to have your pawn break available with b5. So I'm not really a fan of that move. Maybe queen c5 is better than a5. In fact, I'm going to cheat and look at a computer. Let's see what the best move is other than a5, because I just don't agree with that move. Yeah, knight to e5 is a bit stronger, possibly. And rook fe1. So piece play is more important than pawn play. I don't like this a5 move. And they're all about the same in evaluation. So if you preferred like rook b1 or queen b2, you're not far behind. It's a very static position, and slow manoeuvring is required. And it keeps me more flexible to play rook fe1 or knight to e5. Anyway, bishop e2. Bishop knight g5, yeah, that was wrong because of this tactic. It just felt off somehow. Yeah, knight takes is correct. Bishop takes e2. And yes, I found the correct move. Knight takes h7. And queen f2 at first looks okay because if we trade off and we both take each other's minor pieces, then black is fine. Maybe even a bit better because of my weak e3 pawn. But as you saw, well, as you may have seen, I'll show anyway, it did not work. King takes h7 must be correct, and then I just simply take on e2 with the queen. Maybe the computer will suggest queen c2 to displace the king, but I prefer queen e2, it's much simpler. And I'm a solid pawn up. My plan may still be to play b5 coming up, finishing the minority attack, and improving my pieces by attacking the queen side with things like rook c5 and then rook fc1. Then maybe I go b5. Overall, I really like the position. But queen takes f2. There's no reason for me to do king takes. Why should I keep my rook hanging? I may as well take with the rook. Then yeah, bishop takes knight, and the important move. If rook takes d1, king takes h7, black is possibly better, but knight takes f8. And the pawn on h3 is proving its worth. It would be an interesting position after bishop g4, trapping my knight, if the pawn was not on h3. I think I would still probably win this if played accurately, but as I'm blindfolded and the bishop can be very useful guarding all the weaknesses black has, I'm not so sure. But that's entirely academic because bishop g4 is not viable as I will take it. That's why black resigned, as they will be simply a rook down at the end of this sequence. Alright, so good game overall. I liked my play. I didn't really make any blunders. I just played very, very simple without error. I'll do one more game. Let's see if I am as fortunate. I think maybe you can comment below. I think I'm getting better at blindfolded chess because I seem to be losing a bit less. But maybe I'm just getting more fortunate with my opponents. So leave a comment below if you like and see what you think. I'm white. I'll play c4. I don't want to play the same opening again. Knight f6, g3. English opening. E6 now. I made a blunder the other day, and a friend of mine saw the game, and he really berated me for playing badly. Knight f3 is correct. And c5, we're in some weird version of the, I don't know, it's some strange system with d5. It's like a Tarrasch. But not played d5. Interesting. Alright, well, I'll castle. It's probably not the most accurate move, but it's pretty safe. Alright, knight c3. They've played bishop e7 and the like. Knight c6. Alright, let's go into a, I don't know, almost like a Sicilian version of the English. If knight takes, I'm fairly happy with all this. Bishop c5, okay. Can I not? Oh no, they're pawns on b7. Ugh, silly of me. Pawns on b7. Should be thinking harder. Alright, let's go bishop e3, make it interesting. Knight g4 is definitely a move. And there's lots and lots of tactics involved. But no, they've done bishop takes d4. Bishop takes. Knight takes is what I'm hoping for. No, a6. Normally I wouldn't do this, but bishop takes knight, just trading pieces, is the simple way to play. Queen takes f6, of course. And then, hoping I haven't gone horribly wrong, queen d6. So that all their pawns are on light squares. They're on a6, b7, d7, e6. Oh, okay. That's an annoying move. Knight to e4? I don't want knight e4. I have to play it, I think. I've got queen c7, though. That's quite a funny move. Nah, let's go knight e4. And I think my position's okay, actually. If queen takes queen, I'll take with the knight. Rook b8? Oh, I see. Yeah, rook b8. And then b5 is the idea, I think. Rook b8, b5 is the idea. I'm still going to take, because it's easy to play. Knight d6. I'm going to control the dark squares. b5 has been played. What to do, what to do. I don't want to open up too many lines, so I will take once. They'll take with the a pawn, I believe. Then rook a c1. So I target the bishop on c8. And I have rook fd1 if I want to guard the knight as well. Bishop b7 is also unplayable because my knight on d6 and my bishop on g2 are both controlling that square. I also have rook c7 coming up, which could be useful. It's one of those positions where black does seem to be a lot worse, but I can't actually see, pun intended, that I can't see how to break it all down. Alright, bishop a6. Now I could go b4 to make my life easier, which I'm going to do. Just remove counterplay, play entirely prophylactically. Knight to c8, yes, okay. So this will... Okay, well I don't want my knight taken. Well, I do, but I don't want to take them and release tension. There's no reason to do that. Rook fd1, play it nice and simple. Rook d8, interesting move. By interesting, I mean possibly not the best move. Rook d8, rook d8, rook d8. I've only got a minute 25 seconds. Let's try it. Time to trade pieces. I think I see something that might be good. The pawn on d7 might be weak, so I can potentially get a good position here. Only potentially. I'm not going to try and jinx this. Alright, so now rook d6. I still have control of the position. King f8, that's annoying me. e4, quickly go e5. Yes, success. I got e5 in. Bishop b7. Again, why release tension? There is no reason to do that. Rook c7. Bishop takes g2, I believe. Yeah, king takes. Rook a8, that's annoying. That hits my pawn. Never mind. Rook b8, rook b7. I'll take the b pawn. And I want to say I've moved the e pawn. I have moved the e pawn, yes, because I moved it to e5. Now rook on. Oh, they moved rook e2. Okay. King f1. They can't. Oh. Oh, clever tactic. Yes. Good move. Even though I win their rook on e5, they don't win it straight back. My king's gone to f1, hasn't it? Has gone to f1. Okay, rook e1. Trade, trade, trade. I don't think they will. But I get rook b1 in. That's at least a move. Rook d4. Yeah, rook b1. King d7. Okay, then just try and run in with my king to e3. Rook d5. Their king's on c6. King's on c6. Alright, rook c1 check. Then rook c7 is the plan. I have an outside passer, but I'm hoping to give it up for all the pawns. Okay. Rook c7. Rook f5 is a move. My king's on e3. So first attack the rook, try and see what they do. Rook f6, okay. So they've made it a bit more difficult for themselves. Okay, rook b7, so I don't lose the pawn. King c6, rook b8, hold the pawn. King c7, okay, rook b5. King c6, check. King b6, okay, I'm safe here. So I can go f4. Try and lock in their rook, ideally. But actually, oh no, I just allowed my h-pawn's is weak now. Oh well. Yeah, I just realised. My king's on e3, isn't it? So it doesn't quite work. It's close though. Need a moment here. I don't have a moment. I'll go rook c2. Play it carefully. h3, king over here. Over there. Where's the king? It's on that square. My king's on e4. Pawn f5. Oh, he checked me. Okay, push. Oh yeah, that's a move. Okay, I'll try running my king even further up. Then check, force the king onto the back line, and try and hold it with this. I think it's a draw, but again, I've got 25 seconds. That's not encouraging. I'm trying to eliminate all their pawns. Yeah, g6, then king f8 exclam to go king g7. My rook on b2 is hopefully able to hold it all together. Yeah, h5, king g7. I'm hoping that the rook will have to move at some stage in order for the king to get off the a file. To be honest, it's not looking too good. Oh dear. Alright, well, I mean, if they're playing this slowly, maybe they'll lose. Oh, g5, okay. Charge, king h6. g4 is my guess. Oh, h4, okay. So, rook g2. f6, can I not take it? Okay, I believe I can. Oh, wait. Hang on, where was... Didn't they go... Oh, they went g5, h4. Oh, silly of me. Okay, king g6. h2, h3. Rook e4. Then try and hold the king off like this. Yeah, I'm losing. I'm totally lost here, but I can't see anything better. Okay, now take it. Oh, h3. Run away. Okay, and the rook's on f2. That's right. I don't know. g5. The rook's on f2, isn't it? So I might have a draw. Maybe. You never know. But it's very, very hard to calculate such a complicated ending. If I'm not careful, I might actually lose this, which is a bit embarrassing. There's a king and rook versus king and rook, and I might even lose because my pieces are so bad. I believe they have a king on e3, rook on f2, pawn on h2, and I've got a rook on h1, king on g4. So I might just make it in time. And also down to 7 seconds, which is a good sign. Okay, king g3. Oh, okay, I'll just take it. Nice and simple. Draw, hooray! Right, that was very fortunate. I did not expect to get the draw. Apologies to those of you who wanted to skip to the end of that game to just look at the analysis, because that took a bit longer than I thought it would with a 3-minute plus 2 second increment match. I guess that took about 8 minutes is my rough guess. Alright, so not a good sign for me. I seem to have blundered a lot there. Alright, so as it goes from the ending to the beginning. Okay, after rook f2 it was a draw, which was here. So this is actually a drawn match. But I think I had to play it very precisely with g5. Then again, I don't know, maybe if anyone's watching who's around sort of 2000 strength or a bit under, maybe you'd have all found g5 as well, but because it's the only kind of only drawing chance to trade off pawns. But who knows, some of you might have gone king h5, which I think loses by 1 tempo, because king e3, king h4, and then I think king f3, and I'm unhappy with things. Or maybe king f4, actually. No, king f4 is even better, because then king h3, king f3, Zugzwang. But maybe I'm wrong. There might be something else there. I'm still not entirely sure. Let's see, how much of the game is it analysed? It seems to be saying I've made a ton of inaccuracies, but only one blunder, so I'll take a moral victory, I guess. And at one point I was better in the ending, but for the most part it was either level or black had the edge. It's a shame, really. I sort of messed up a bit throughout that game. I think I was trying too hard to reach a kind of winning position. I was definitely better in the opening and the middle game as well, and I sort of allowed black a bit too much counterplay. So sort of squeezing and using domination I think it's more difficult when you're blindfolded than almost anything else, because you have to be very careful about letting your opponent get counterplay. Anyway, the opening was c4, knight f6, g3, e6, knight f3, and then d5 is the main move, but c5 is an alternative. Bishop g2, bishop e7, castles, and what was really messing me up was that black almost always plays d5 at some point, so their refusal to play d5 had slightly messed up the position in my head on several moves. I kept thinking that the pawn was off the board, or that it had moved, or something like that. So after bishop c5, bishop e3 is probably not the best move, but it looked easy to play. And yeah, traded, and a6, and yeah, I should probably go bishop c5 here. But I took because it allowed me to play queen d6, which I did hesitate over playing, as it was potentially losing me the game if I'd have, misunderstood where some of black's pieces were. Yeah, queen e7, knight e4 to maintain control over the d6 square. And I was trying to figure out if I could somehow win that rook on b8, as their knight was potentially a bit vulnerable, but I couldn't see how to do it, and it seems that it's not possible. Knight d6 to again blockade and occupy black's half of the board. Yeah, b5. So yeah, c takes a mistake. I should do c5 to keep the a file closed. Yeah, that I can appreciate now it was a mistake, but I was worried about my c pawn becoming weak if they ever got a rook to c8. But that is very hard to do. So yeah, c5 is a lot better than takes now. I was just thinking I might need another open file to create more weaknesses in black's half of the board, but it turned out to be more useful for black to have the open a file. Yeah, knight takes c8 is almost definitely wrong, but I couldn't see what to do, and of course rook c7 is clearly better, probably winning at this stage. Yeah, rook c7, then I can always pressure d7 as well. Alright, so knight takes, bishop takes, rook d6, king f8, and e4 is apparently not good at all. I was worried about king e7 making my rook move, but apparently king e7, and I'm still a bit better. I am not sure why. I'm assuming I just moved back to like d2 or something. Oh, okay, yeah, rook d2, rook d3, and I still dominate the queen side. Yeah, so e4 is a mistake because it gives black enough counterplay, and it's just level here, apparently. c7, despite my brilliant rooks, black doesn't really have enough weaknesses for me to exploit, and now black's got a rook on the 7th rank, so black is the one who's fighting for the advantage. What I had missed here was rook takes pawn. Very nice move from black, because my rook on d6 is now undefended, so I had to sacrifice my rook for a pawn straight back, have the outside passer, which is not going to be quick enough or far enough away from the king. Rook b1, king d7, and their king is more active than mine, so black has the edge. And this is a drawn ending that I would normally be able to draw relatively easily, but with blindfolded, it became very tricky to play. So they chased me around a bit. Rook b5 is probably the best move. King c6. Yeah, what should I do here? Should I have done... Okay, so rook c5. Yeah, f4 was just a key mistake. That's so silly of me. Yeah, rook h5 is a really nice move. So then... Oh, rook g6, yes. Trying to provoke h6, essentially. So king f3... I'd have played h3 here, but okay. Then f5, takes, and I win a pawn. Yeah, this is very, very nice. Because if black is made to play h6 when they're here, then I completely shut in their rook on f6, and it's looking a lot better for white. Just my mobility and activity of my pieces is clearly a lot better. Oh dear, so f4 was a key mistake there. despite what the computer says, I would class that as a mistake, not an inaccuracy. Then Rook h5 is awful. I did look at it briefly, but I don't think I have enough time just to show. Rook h5, it's definitely not the right move. Takes, obviously pawn takes. And then black can simply play h6 if they want to, but king b5 I'm sure is better. Then I have to try and get active with king d4. King takes. Then the idea I had was h6. That takes me king e5, trying to get like all of black's pawns essentially. But the computer and myself agree that I'm just a little bit too slow. King d4. I think I have to take on f7. Yeah, king e4. King takes. King takes. King f6. Yeah, and h5. This is the problem. Oh no, it's a draw. I had thought I would be a bit too slow, but maybe it is drawn. h4. Incredible. That is a draw, yeah. Doubled h pawns. Very clever, yeah. Yeah, h4, brilliant. King moves over, and then king e5. Yeah, king takes h4, king f4. It's a draw. Oh dear. So I did actually miss my instinct was to play this, and I thought, no, it doesn't work. Is there something else that black has, though? I don't think there could be. It's amazing. The computer often doesn't see draws until it sees, far enough ahead. It sort of just feels that, yeah, black must be winning because of the material, but apparently not. Yeah, and it's now gone all the way down to a draw. So potentially, that was my best option here. Rook h5 takes. And then if black plays h6, yeah, king d3, and I have the outside passer. Yeah, so king b5, king d4, and I think black had to take it. Yeah, black has to take, and then h6 is the key move. And if black goes g6, I then run my king into, f6, and then I can take on h7 if I want. So yeah, takes is essentially forced, and then king e5. And yeah, black just doesn't have a move. I don't see a way for black to stop everything. Unless they can play like king c5, yeah, king f6. Okay, the computer likes king d4 again, but let's say king d5. King takes. The only way black could try and win this is to push their h-pawn at the right moment. Force me to play king f6. And then try to kind of gain tempi. So h4 is a draw because of f5. Yeah, h4 is a draw because f5, and then if e5, I can move my king out the way and I promote first. Or at the same time, it's a draw. So yeah, king e4, king takes e6. It doesn't work. And if h4, trying to gain more space on me, doesn't really matter too much. Because again, black essentially has to do this. This is probably the best objective chance black has. But this is not a great chance for black. It may even be harmful to black's chances. I mean, black could even lose in these positions. King takes h7 is a move I don't like. You should be centralizing the queen. Queen f5 might even be a draw. But I don't want to test it after queen e5 check. Yeah, just king takes h7 is simple. Yeah, I can't be bothered to work it all out. Then yeah, king h6 running down to get the pawn. Then queen e5 or something, and maybe something like queen f2. Just draw. Okay, so I did actually, my kind of half my instinct was saying draw, although whether I'd have found this blindfolded is a different matter. Probably would have done, but there is a chance I mess it up. Alright, so I did allow rook h3 check. e4, rook b3. Yeah, and then here I just totally messed up. Because I went king d6, which was a complete blunder. I should have gone king e4 or king f4. Then check, king e5, and then when they take me, we'll get this position, which I'd seen in my head. And I had thought that maybe black could cause me problems, but as it so happened, black caused me a lot more problems in the position in the game. So this would have been a draw with accurate play. Because black can't really move too many pawns without trading stuff, and then I draw in the rook and pawn ending, I think. Oh dear. So yeah, they won the pawn. I thought I might have had enough by getting the king far away, but as it so happened, this lovely pawn structure for black was able to get them the game. And for some reason I thought that their pawn had gone to g4. I must have just had a moment of madness. So rook g4, king b5. Tried to get a pawn, but it didn't work. And yeah, black is just way better. I don't really have any chance of doing anything. So maybe g4 is a bit premature, but I don't think it's really a huge mistake. Maybe they should have gone king d2 first, just to prevent me going rook e1 and swinging around behind it. And rook e1's a huge blunder, but it doesn't really matter too much. King h5 is the computer move, h2, and then we'll go to a similar position to the game with rook e1, I suppose. And I don't. And this is essentially the game position to before. Rook f2. Oh, king h4 actually gets there in time. Yeah, and then the best move is rook g2, very, very clever, yeah. And then king h3, rook g1 is there. So rook h1 is essentially forced. King e3, king e2, whatever. King h3. And am I in Zugzwang? That's the big question. To king f2. I'm not, because of course rook takes h2, draw. Oh, rook g1, very clever. Yeah, very nice. And then king f3. And my king and rook are dominated. And yeah, king h4 to avoid any mates or anything silly like that. And we're going to get some sort of Lucina position, I guess, with rook g1. Oh, it seems like rook g5 instead. Forcing the king. Yeah, if king h4, rook g8, so I have to put my king further away. And then rook g1, yeah. And this is looking very, very awkward. King g4, I prefer king f4, but king g4 is apparently stronger. But anyway, yeah, we're basically getting a Lucina position where their pawn will go to f5, and then still a draw. Yeah, I didn't like. Okay, maybe it wasn't so good. I thought I couldn't go f5 here. Oh, I see. I defend the pawn this way. It's very, very tricky and technical here. So I guess I have to push the pawn. But I suppose now that the white king is sort of cut off, there isn't quite enough going on here. Yeah, king f6 and then f4, and if white tries to bring their king around via sort of almost shouldering, I guess, yeah, the problem would be that eventually black would kick the king away, and then we would get Lucina with f2, and there isn't even a building a bridge option here. Black can just make a queen. Alright, so essentially black made a big mistake with h2, or at least a slight mistake. Rook h1 is what I did. And yeah, rook f2 is simply a blunder. Takes g4. I pretty much have to take. Well, this is rubbish with king f7. I have to take the pawn. And yeah, here is the problem. King e3. Oh no, what am I talking about? Sorry, rook g2 first. Yeah, king f5. Then king e3, and the white king can't get close enough. And if I go rook to like a1 or somewhere, then rook g1, and I lose. Rook e1 simply helps black. King f2. Therefore, I have to play this, then king f2, or king f3, actually. King f3 is easier. And if king f5, I don't get any closer, so try and run around to king e3, but then I am a bit short. Rook g1. Over, I've lost. Fortunately for me, they allowed this g5, and my guess is they thought rook g2 would win. And I could be really fancy with rook g2, actually. There are two drawing moves. One is king takes, and then we'll get the draw with king over, g6. I think king f1 is okay. Or rook f2 might be a bit more accurate. And king like e6, let's say. And then you could go rook to g2 again and get a draw. Yeah, rook to g2, and then yeah, king f7, and you get the draw that way. Yeah, so you can do it that way. But there's also quite a nice draw for white, where you go rook takes h2, and then if takes, you can take with the f pawn, and you should just about make it to the other side of the board. Though this is a lot trickier. There's no reason to do this. Yeah, king takes. Then yeah, king e3, and surprisingly, if black tries to win it too hard, they might even lose. So for example, if let's say rook f2, king e6 or e7, doesn't matter, king f3, g7, then like king g2, you might even lose this match because white has, say, rook takes pawn at the end, and then they make a queen. So you do need to be a little bit careful, but it is a draw with accurate play, and both of us found the draw. Anyway, that was interesting match. Slight shame I couldn't win, but I managed to defend well enough to get the draw. Right, hope you found this video interesting, and see you next time.